we're excited about the fact that we're wrapping up our final preparations to get underway here at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and have the opportunity to deliver a pretty unique medical capability that no Navy in the world has the capability to do. And that's where a guy like Captain Buckley behind me brings that medical capability, and any of the questions with specific medical capabilities, I'll let Captain Buckley answer those. My function will be to go down and help with the command and control coordination between the Maritime Component Commander and the Land Component Commander there. Basically, think of my role and the role of my staff is to keep everybody out of the way so that the medical professionals can do their jobs. And so I'm pretty good at that, and they're really good at what they do. And then, subject to your questions, I would just turn it over to Captain Buckley to talk about capability.
Captain, sea and ocean conditions and weather conditions between here and Puerto Rico, how long do you think it'll take you? What do you expect in your blitz?
So the conditions are pretty good right now. The seas started laying down yesterday. We think that the transit will we should be on station by 3 October. If we have to slow down a little bit, 4 October at the latest, but I'm pretty confident we'll be there by the 3rd.
You'll go into San Juan?
So we don't know where we're going yet. The those final mission analysis and coordination with the national level agencies is ongoing. We'll get our orders en route, and wherever we go, what the great part about what Comfort brings to the fight is the ability to move anywhere that they ask us to go.
Can you talk to us about challenges because of the devastation at the island? Is that going to be a challenge for you guys? I know the FEMA administrator said getting to port was kind of a challenge for you guys to even get on the way in the first place.
So again, that's part of the mission analysis that's still going on. As you can imagine, with the level of destruction that occurs from a Cat 5 hurricane or Cat 4 or whatever it was when it made shore, we're very cautious about how we bring a large ship in. And so those surveys are still ongoing. We're working with our Coast Guard counterparts that are down in the area to get that assessment. And so we are flexible. The medical capability that the ship can deliver can be done underway, it can be done in port, or it can be done at anchor. And so between the helicopter capability that we have, the boats that we have, all of those things together give us the ability to be flexible in our mission and still contribute with very little interruptions in that process.
Given the issue with going inland once you're there, the infrastructure damage, is that a challenge? I suppose you'll be using helicopters a lot to get stuff back inland.
So I mean, the part about that for us is, if we go pure side, then there's that challenge of things are going to have to move by truck. The assessments that are coming out of there, are mostly what I hear on the news as well, and that is, there's some areas that we're starting to do it. There are issues with or challenges with fuel distribution and things like that. We're flexible enough to do that, and what one of the capabilities that we have is, should we have to go out and restock or something like that, we could leave port for a very short period of time, go out there and meet underway replenishment with our other Combat Logistics Force ships and be able to do those resupplies. So again, that goes to the flexibility and the uniqueness of Comfort going into an area like that.
Do you have any idea how long you'll be gone?
So I know that my orders are a minimum of 30 days. And again, those are decisions that are made much above our level. What we'll do is we'll go out there and hit the ground running, or hit the deck plates running, as we say in the Navy, and we'll keep moving until somebody tells us that we're no longer needed.
Is 30 days pretty similar to previous missions with Comfort?
So I don't know enough about that, to be honest with you. I think when you look at the U.S. response that's going in, now that things are starting to get mobilized and we're able to make the assessments that we make, my initial cut is 30 days seems to be about right for this mission.
What was the last time Comfort deployed?
So,
Continuing Promise was 2015.
so 2 years ago.
They went to, I think, 13 countries approximately, and saw 122,000 people.
Any reason why now it's being deployed to Puerto Rico? You guys are moving to Texas or Florida, so any of the specifics with this, why you guys are heading out?
So, those are decisions that are national level decisions. Decisions made well above my pay grade. I can only say that we've received the order to go, and it's time to go. What decisions were made at the national level, I'm not privy to that, and I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to answer, why decision makers made those decisions.
Captain, how do you feel about the fact that there was a petition drive that was literally sent to Comfort that started several days ago? Anything you would say about that?
Again, I'm a simple sailor from Chicago. My job is to, when somebody tells me to go, I go. All of the rest of it is frankly irrelevant to me. We have a mission to go deliver a capability and get involved in an operation to reduce human suffering in an area that has been devastated by weather over the last 5 to 6 weeks. That's all I'm focused on, and that's all that my medical professionals that I'm going with are focused on.
What is it like gearing up to get ready once you get the word to go? Just getting a ship like this ready to deploy on short notice.
So that's a great question. So to understand that, you have to understand how the ship is designed in a non-operational status, right? So this ship is normally maintained in what we call a reserve operating status 5, which means they can get the order and be ready to go in 5 days. Now that's from the civilian mariner standpoint, and then the uniqueness about Comfort is that we can tailor those medical packages that Captain Buckley can talk about a little bit more in depth here. And typically that's a 5-day or plus process depending on the size of that package. We started posturing as we saw weather coming in. We were leaning forward in the event that we were asked to go, especially as Irma was approaching the United States. And so we made some of those preparations, decisions that were made within the Navy to do that. Here's what's really unique. 48 hours ago, there were less than 100 people on board this ship. That's civilian mariners and medical treatment facility personnel at the same time. Over the last 36 hours, we have flown medical professionals in for that tailored medical package, along with their support personnel from all over the country, and the number of people that are on board right now are over 800. Think of the logistics that's required and the capability that's required to move over 700 young men and women and good Americans to come on board and drop what they're doing to go and deliver that capability. I couldn't be more proud of how Military Sealift Command, how the medical community have responded, and to walk aboard the ship or talk to those sailors who were all ready to go. That's what keeps you coming back to work every day. Y'all probably want to talk to the other guy, so I can get out of the way unless there's any more specific questions for me.
For the cameras, can you state your first and last name again and your rank?
Yes, my name is Captain Kevin Robinson. I'm the Commodore of Military Sealift Command Atlantic and the Task Force Commander. And on board here, I am the forward command element for Comfort to fall in on the other military commanders that are in the area. Okay. Yeah, sorry. You got him? You good? Taking my wallet?
Yeah.
Need a pickpocket.
Good morning. I'm Captain Kevin Buckley. I'm an emergency medicine physician with a subspecialty in pediatric emergency medicine. I am the commanding officer of the hospital, or they call the MTF, Military Treatment Facility, on the Comfort. Captain did a good job of giving you some of the overviews. I can give you a general spiel of what we can do, or you can ask me questions. What would you prefer?
Captain, can you compare your capabilities with the most advanced hospital that's in Puerto Rico right now that's operating?
Well, I can't speak to what's available currently in Puerto Rico, but I can tell you what we can do. And that's okay. So we have the capabilities of any hospital that you have in this country. So we have full bunch of specialists. I have a CAT scanner, angio suite, and I have dialysis capabilities. The only thing we don't have on board is an MRI, because if you know MRIs, they don't do very well with metal, and you can see there's a lot of metal there that would probably interfere with that. So we don't have an MRI, but we do have a new capable CT scanner, ultrasound. We can run up to 11 ORs, but we're only going to be loaded for 6. The ship is built, the primary mission is for combat support. So the combat support mission is a little different package than humanitarian. In combat, we don't bring OBGYN doctors and pediatricians and neonatologists. In this tailored package, we have more community health, more primary care. I have a 50-bed ER capability on board the ship. I have the ability to store about 250 people, and we'll have up to 50 ICU beds. The potential of the hospital ship, actually, if it's made for combat, would probably be one of the largest trauma centers in the United States. If you Google it, it'll be number 7, because it has up to 1,000-bed capability. We're not packed on 1,000 bed because, again, our mission is not trauma for combat. It's more for humanitarian assistance. Well, we have the capability to the MSC command, who runs the hull part of the ship, has been a great partnership with them, and logistically we can run for 6 months for combat without being resupplied for medical supplies. Food, we would need that for humanitarian because of the nature of the short notice and the flexibility. We don't know what we're going to face yet. We load for about 30 days of supplies.
Do you have any medics aboard the expedition from Puerto Rico?
I have Navy sailors from Puerto Rico, including my admin chief, who was supposed to go on vacation next week to see his family in Puerto Rico, and they're fine, by the way. They're in the eastern part of the island, but they're okay. It took them a week to get a hold of them, but they're okay. There are also a number of sailors that have come on my crew, so it's like a nest egg. So I usually have about 58 sailors that sit here and maintain the shop. It's not in mothballs. If you know anything about equipment, you have to keep things running. All my lab equipment capabilities, CT scanners, radiology machines, required to be used, or at least turned on. And you can't leave them off for a month and come back and expect them to work. You guys all know technology, it's a bit fickle. So I have that crew. Then I have a critical core that comes on board, which is sourced from different 18 MTFs around the country. Majority comes from Portsmouth, which is local. That's 241 more people. That doesn't bring you a capability for medical support, but it's like a framework or bone structure for the hospital to get ready to take patients. And then the FOSS tailored package, which we brought on board, over 529 people were tasked with the mission less than 36 hours ago, some as late as last night, and they're here this morning to help support us. So as a doc, coming on board the ship and seeing the capability, it's really impactful and emotional what we can deliver. And thanks to the partnership with MSC Command in the hull and Navy Medicine East and Navy Medicine and General BUMED leading forward, I don't think you guys understand. No civilian agency can bring this capability in 24 hours to be able to go on a ship and go anywhere in the world, anytime, anywhere. And because of our capabilities, any deep port, we have transports that you may see on a regular cruise line that can bring patients up as well, up to 40 patients at a time. Most cruise lines just bring things down, but to bring the load up to do that is a great capability as well. So we can bring them from the pier side, from small boats, if we can't get it further up into an area, or by the large deck can actually move in closer. Pier side does have some limitations, but we can be flexible and do almost anything.
When you get there, do you have a number that you are thinking about what you're expecting to see when you get there?
So when we're full to bore, we can process about 200 people per day, depending on our supply list. For combat would be 6 months indefinitely for that period of time. We don't know what we're going to be tasked with. We don't know what the medical ask is. That's from higher up national authorities or working with FEMA to decide where the base use of us, because we don't have I'm just a captain. I'm on this level. My job is to be ready to go. with our team and get what we can to be as flexible or semper gumby as you want to be on the site. But those areas will have to be determined where our best impact will be. There's a great already a Navy asset, a military medicine asset on land. So we're going to plus up with them, and the captain, the Commodore, will actually give us, he's over there now, will give us the guidance where we're going to go. So wherever he says we're going, my team is ready to support and provide care.
Do you have a sense of like what types of aid might be in demand? Like for instance, like in an earthquake, you may see like a preponderance of a certain type of injury. In hurricanes, is there generally perhaps something that you're expecting to see more of? Where you can...
Well, we use a computer model-based that actually can tell you what kind of economy you're dealing with, emergency economy, a well-developed nation type thing, and timelines. So depending on when you get and what kind of disaster, so whether it is a local disaster, the earthquake knocks the building down, or you may have a wider spread, so that you can then put these questions or input into the data and get an input. Normally, the first few days of an incident like this would be more trauma-related incident, things falling down, things being blown over or hit by debris that are hitting. As we further move out, there's more medical things. So as you lose some of the civilization type things, running water, proper sanitation, things like dysentery or cholera can also be on. So usually around day 14 through on, you'll start getting more medical issue, or medical patients who haven't seen their doctor or haven't got their medications refilled may have problems that may be due to their original disease. So again, trauma up front, and then as you go further out, it's more medical based. I'm sorry, she had a question next.
You mentioned that you can do anything a hospital can do. So if somebody needed...
Nearly.
Okay, so if somebody needed surgery...
Yes.
Are there things that you can't do? And then in that case, what happens then?
Well, there are certain surgeries we just wouldn't want to do. We wouldn't want to do a joint replacement because that's a long follow-on. Someone has a broken bone or needs a washout, yes. So one of the differences between this ship and some of the other medical capabilities, the LADH, they can do damage control surgery and major surgeries to stop them, but they don't have the follow-on holding capability. So if we have a patient that has a contaminated wound and may have to go back to the OR 5 or 6 times over a week, we can keep the person on board and do that and do all of that definitive surgery.
What about the pharmacy? There's a whole pharmacy too, right?
We have a pharmacy based on, we call AMALs, which are packages that are pre-based packages based on what we think. We don't keep anything on the ship for the most part until we get an order to where to go, because we want to tailor our mission what we need. And we get support from MSC, from our civilian contractors, from Portsmouth, and we've actually called commands up and down the eastern coast if we don't have something we can get to pull. And all that's been loaded on. I mean, 98 pallets of food by my guys during a storm. The winds of the last couple of days here because the hurricane have been in there and made it very challenging. So it's been a heroic effort, a teamwork effort to provide a capability like, as the Commodore said, very few in the world can do.
So you would pick those medicines up?
We have them on board now. So we've loaded them over the last 2 days. That's why we have the ROS 5 status. You have to get your mission and then task what you need, and it does take a few hours to do that.
Can you give us a sense of how much medication, how many supplies,
I have enough for 30 days.
enough for 30 days? And could it be extended beyond 30 days?
Well, so one of the things as we get more information from higher authorities, as I said, we don't know what the full ask is. We have to be very broad. If we need to do more, say, dialysis or more so-and-so, we have the ability to say order up from the ship and order ahead and have redelivery, so we can do the underway replenishment. So we have those already scheduled for food, but we can add other things on there. Or we also have a hemodet on board that if we know where we can pre-position supplies to fly them out to the ship.
You said there are over 800 people on board. Can you give us a breakdown? How many doctors, how many nurses?
Well, I have over 300 of our finest Navy corpsmen, and those break down into specialists and techs. So we have lab techs, x-ray techs, pharmacy techs, physical therapy techs, and I have approximately 140 medical type officers. So that's doctors, nurses, MSC officers, which is not different than the MSC line command that does the support, medical service corps. So those include your pharmacists, your physical therapists. You may have also, we have nurse practitioners and PAs, and I have a number of, I have 45 doctors, and they don't count me anymore, unfortunately, on that list. But I have, my executive officer is also in internal medicine. So we actually have 2 additional doctors that don't count on the list because we're in a position that we're set for CO and XO.
Obviously, the mission that you do is especially at a time like this. Do you anticipate any challenges that you can foresee now, maybe like a language material? Like, what are some of the challenges you are preparing for now?
Well, I have a number of people on board the ship that speak Spanish if we have that issue. You know, I've been doing this for a while, and I've had a lot of my mentors have always told me, if you get to do a humanitarian mission, it's usually the highlight of your career. And one of the joys is being a skipper in Admiral Swap, who's a NAVMED East Admiral, and the source for most of our, actually all of our medical's capability was on board last night and this morning. And walking around, and normally you get deployment, there's always people like, oh, I can't go for this reason or that reason. The energy, the smiles, the enthusiasm to help is really rewarding to see as a commanding officer. It's really heart-touching to see that. And I'm very proud of our sailors, and I couldn't be more proud. I mean, it's almost like, put me in, coach, I can help, I'm ready to play. And they really had that enthusiasm. Getting on board last night, you know, it just takes time to process that many people across that little brow, find them berthing, and not one person was complaining. Everyone's smiling, happy, and just happy to be aboard. So it's really an infectious type thing. So they're really eager to help, and we'll do our best, whatever the Commodore has us do and the higher authorities to do, we're standing by to assist.
Comfort responded after Katrina, after Hurricane Rita, after the earthquake in Haiti.
September 11th as well.
September 11th. How does this particular crisis compare to some of those?
Well, each crisis is different. You know, September 11th had a focal point where it was gone. The natural disasters, it's always a little more challenging working with the states because you also have to work with states. Those different states, governments and FEMA actually will drive a lot of that, and a lot of the stuff's way above that. So we're just more of, tell us what you want and we'll support what you need. Many of the states, though, actually have inland resources, so sometimes it's easier to move inland than to have to go out to sea. So depending on what kind of nation it is or nature of the event, we're more in, tell us what you need and we'll support.
And those 30 days begin once you make landfall in Puerto Rico, correct? You're not counting 5 days.
Well, the supplies for 30 days is what we need to do medical care. So when we start medical care, we will need food resupply. We have enough food for about 21 days for 900 people.
You mentioned the morale and the energy was really high.
Yeah.
Are there any challenges just in terms of throwing all these people together at once and like procedures? Maybe someone does something differently than someone else, and they kind of have to work things out, or is that?
No,
we're fairly smoothly?
It goes. Actually, it's amazingly. The teamwork approach is really a pretty good. We're all active duty, so we all worked in different. We were all plug and play, if you will. I've been deployed downrange to Iraq or as an ERSS team lead to different areas, and there are general training pipelines that people have. So a lot of it is consistent. People always have their certain preferences. Like I like this type of retractor if I'm a surgeon, and surgeons always have their own little personal things they like. But I'm an ER doc, so there's always a little battle between the ER doc and surgeons. So.
How many people, medical staff are on the ship?
So there are at least 71 mariners. We may have a little more plus up for that actually run the hull. And on the medical side, I have over 800 right now. Well, that includes my support staff. So not just medical, I have a large non-medical component. So somebody has to feed people. So we have a galley that can provide up to 8,500 meals a day if properly stored. We don't need that much right now because we only have 900 people on board, times 3. So at least 3,000 meals a day we'll be cooking. So I need staff to do that. And then we have logistics supply orders. So I have barns and warehouses on here I can put stuff in, and a whole bunch of people, civilians and military, that work together to make sure we have what we need. So it's right now over 800 military staff, and then the 71 civilian mariners.
I'm sorry that you said this earlier. I do apologize. Is your ship equipped with dialysis? I remember
Yes.
watching the report. A lady sent her mom without dialysis for days.
Correct. So the ship has capability for dialysis. Like I said, it can provide them nearly anything any medical hospital, tertiary care facility in the States can provide, except MRI and usually some of the neurosurgical procedures, if you staff it right. So we always have dialysis machines. We've actually plussed up from Portsmouth with 2 other ones, and we've actually have nephrology on board and dialysis techs as support. So the beds, or you have to look at that, it's 250 beds is a breakdown because you have, of that, 50 beds are in the ICU. So those 250 beds are varying level of care.
If I could ask everybody, obviously they have to get underway in 90 minutes, so we're going to go last question. Whoever can get it in.
In terms of once you've been victims on board and they're say in an ICU unit, how does the handoff work? Do they end up back in Puerto Rico? Do you take them to the States? Does it matter?
Depends what the condition is, and there's also people that have come from other islands from the previous storms that are maybe there too. So if they're a foreign national, we would work with the embassy and State Department to get them back to their host country. Puerto Rico actually is U.S. territory, so a lot of it depends on, do they have other assets or resources anywhere else, or is Puerto Rico ready to take